It was a rainy Thursday morning in the middle of November, one of those gray days when the world feels heavier than usual. The cafe was packed, warm with the hum of conversations, the clinking of cups, and the scent of fresh pastries and coffee. Amelia had just managed to grab the last empty table by the window. She was curled around a cup of chai latte, her laptop open but forgotten, staring out at the drizzle tapping against the glass. She wasn't in the mood to talk to anyone. Life hadn't exactly been kind lately. Her job as a freelance illustrator wasn't paying the bills like it used to, her landlord had just raised the rent, and her mother's hospital expenses kept climbing. But today, she had promised herself one quiet hour, to sit, breathe, and feel like she still had some control over her life. Then he appeared. He stood awkwardly beside her table, tall and slightly damp, holding a black umbrella in one hand and a tray in the other with just a black coffee and a muffin. He looked tired, not the kind of tired from lack of sleep, but the kind life puts in your bones. His eyes scanned the room, found no other seat, and landed on her. "I'm sorry to bother you," he said, voice deep but gentle. "Would you mind if I sit here? I won't take much space." Amelia hesitated. Every fiber of her introverted self wanted to say no. But something about his expression, like he was carrying more than just an umbrella, made her nod. "Sure, go ahead," she said quietly. He sat down with a small smile of gratitude. "Thank you, I didn't expect this place to be so full. It's always like this when it rains," she replied, not looking up. For a few minutes, they sat in silence. Then he spoke again. "I'm Nathan, by the way." "Amelia. Nice to meet you, Amelia." She gave a polite nod, eyes back on her laptop. But Nathan didn't push for more. He sipped his coffee quietly, looking out the window, his silence not uncomfortable. There was something odd about him, not in a bad way, just unusual. His clothes were neat but simple. He didn't wear a watch, no ring, no signs of the wealth or story he truly carried. He looked like someone who wanted to disappear in the background. But fate has a funny way of making stories happen where we least expect them. Over the next 30 minutes, they found themselves in light conversation. First about the weather, then about books, and slowly, their talk wandered into the realm of life, quietly, gently. Amelia mentioned she worked as an illustrator. Nathan seemed genuinely interested, asked about her work, her inspirations. He didn't talk much about himself. Just said he worked in consulting, whatever that meant. But there was kindness in his tone, a calmness in his manner that made her open up more than usual. She told him about her mom's illness. About how hard it was to be creative when the world kept crashing around her. She didn't know why she shared so much, maybe because he listened like he actually cared. At the end of the hour, she packed her things. "I should get going," she said, slinging her bag over her shoulder. "Thanks for not being weird." He chuckled. "Thank you for the seat." They exchanged a quick goodbye. And that was supposed to be it. But 2 days later, they ran into each other again, same cafe, same rainy mood. This time, he was the one who offered a seat. And so began a quiet routine. Every few days, they met by chance. Or maybe not by chance. Maybe one of them always came hoping the other would be there. They started sharing muffins, then stories. He told her a little more, that he had a young daughter named Emma, that he worked from home a lot to be with her. But never once did he talk about money, status, or what he really was, the sole heir to a family fortune worth millions, now running a philanthropic tech firm in stealth, avoiding attention like a shadow. Amelia didn't know. She just saw a man who listened, who made her feel seen in a world that often looked through her. And Nathan saw in her a rare kind of honesty. She wasn't interested in what he had, only who he was. And that made him come back. Then one day, everything changed. Nathan didn't show up, not the next day, or the next. A week passed. Amelia felt the absence like a bruise. She told herself it was nothing. People disappear. Maybe he got busy. Maybe he was traveling. Maybe it wasn't what she thought it was. But her heart told a different story. She missed him, deeply. Then, out of nowhere, an email popped into her inbox. It was a client request, from a firm called Brightstone Initiatives. A big name in tech philanthropy. They wanted her to design a full illustration package for a children's book they were publishing in partnership with a literacy nonprofit. The payment, enough to cover her mom's medical bills and give her breathing room for a whole year. Confused, she read on. At the bottom was a personal note. "Dear Amelia, you inspired this project more than you know. I hope you'll accept it not as a favor, but as a way for your art to reach the world, and for a little girl to see how powerful kindness can be. Nathan and Emma. Her heart stopped. It couldn't be that Nathan. Could it? The next morning, she went back to the cafe. It wasn't raining. The place wasn't crowded, but he was there. Same table, black coffee, no umbrella this time. She walked straight up to him, heart pounding. You're him, aren't you? Nathan looked up and smiled sheepishly. I guess I am. You didn't tell me, she said, breathless. You never asked. And I didn't want you to treat me differently. They sat in silence for a moment. I didn't help you because I wanted anything from you, she said finally. I just thought you looked like you needed a seat. And I did, he replied, voice soft. More than you knew. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small sketchbook. This is Emma's. She saw your drawings online. She wants to be an illustrator now. Amelia opened the book. Inside were pages of crayon drawings, clumsy but filled with color and joy. Her name was written in childlike handwriting on the first page. To Amelia, thank you for inspiring my daddy. Tears filled her eyes. That afternoon, they didn't just talk, they connected in a way that rewrote both their stories. And when he asked her to meet Emma, she said yes. Because sometimes, in the middle of a crowded cafe on a rainy day, when life feels heavy and the world feels cold, all it takes is one small act of kindness to change everything. Amelia had no idea that sharing her table would lead her to love, purpose, and a little girl who would one day call her, Mom. Inspiring message. Never underestimate the power of a small kindness. You may not know the battles others are fighting, but your compassion could be the turning point in someone's life, and maybe even your own.